Hello, this week we are talking about antibiotic resistance in farm animals. Antibiotic resistance in farm animals is a tricky process. So there are several things that you're trying to accomplish doing this while vaccinating your animals. So you're trying to ensure that your farm animals have a resistance to viruses and bacteria using antimicrobial drugs. But those drugs also contain growth hormones that aid in larger farm animals. And that is more beneficial to farmers because majority of the farm animals are used for food, and that's what the farmers sell. That's how they make their money. The problem with antimicrobial drugs is that they can lead to the animals quickly becoming resistant to harmful bacteria and viruses. Broad spectrum antibiotics are harmful because they lack the ability to target just a single organism. So instead, they're treating all the bacteria in the body regardless of whether or not it's harmful. It can't differentiate between a good bacteria and a bad bacteria. One factor that can contribute to horizontal gene transfer antibiotic resistance is in the food that the farm animals are eating. So the cows are grazing on grass, the horses are eating hay, the chickens are eating corn feed, and pigs eat, well, everything. So it doesn't really matter. But for instance, if the grass that is on the field that the cattle are consuming, those bacteria, if they have somehow become resistant to a variety of different antibiotics, or they've mutated into this form that just simply there's no antibiotic for it yet, then those bacteria that the cattle are consuming on that grass are now a part of that cow. They're being ingested, they are making its way into the bloodstream, into the tissues, into everything in the cow. And so there's no way for it to be flushed out. So, say you're taking to the cattle to be sold, to be used as meat, with the cattle being being slaughtered for meat, it doesn't mean that the viruses and the bacteria have now left the cattle. They are still a part of that. And so, one thing that's really hard when you have animals that are all, residing in these close quarters is that, all of that bacteria that is now inside of your farm animals is being excreted in urine and feces, in whatever is coming out of cows and farm animals. But animals eat feces. Animals drink from, water troughs that are contaminated with feces and all kinds of different bacteria. And so that's how it can transfer from species to species, is by eating each other's poop. It's just really gross. All the food that we ingest is treated with some sort of chemical. They all serve different functions. They're all for a different purpose. Some are to preserve the life of the food. Some are to prevent the food from being contaminated by bacteria and viruses. There's organic food, which isn't treated with anything. And so that's just a litany of other things that can be wrong. But all of these pesticides and all of these things that are being treated with our food aren't necessarily always washed off for our food before we consume it. So there's another thing that happens. I think something that farmers can do to help reduce the antibiotic resistance is to keep all the farm animals separated, right? You got your pigs in one area, you got your cows in a separate, you got your chickens in another area, and they're just completely separated. And so that way it will prevent that species to species transfer through the horizontal gene transfer. It just is going to be cows to cows, pigs to pigs, horses to horses, all of that stuff. And as far as like animal husbandry goes, I know farmers are really great about ensuring that the bull that they're getting to breed their cattle comes from this really great line where there's no defects, there's no abnormalities, there's no history of health issues. And so I know that farmers, a majority, they're really careful about that. But just making sure that, all farmers are practicing those practices and ensuring that they're buying cattle from trusted, reputable companies to further reproduce their cattle. And that's all I have this week.